Good evening, race fans, and welcome to round number 21 of the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals. Also brought to you by Old School Ninjas. We are here today at Michigan International Speedway for the Motor City 210. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today, 1080p, 60 frames a second, as our drivers get themselves prepared for the racing here today. We have our starting grid available to us now as drivers get themselves out onto the racetrack and get ready for tonight's action. Jeffrey Meyer, the 50 car, starting out in the front row. David Cintini, the 79 machine, going to be in second place here tonight. Colby Babber, in 10th place. In the 10 machine, going to be in third place here tonight. Douglas Bell, the 11 car, in fourth place. Matt White taking 5th place here today. Evan Longacre in 6th. Billy Fitzgerald in 7th place. Scott Steffens in 8th place. Julio Villalobos in 9th place. Brent Wall in 10th. Barry Stevens in 11th. Robert Cook in 12th place. As we move ourselves down the grid, Kenny Meadows starting in 13th place. James Duke in 14th. Braxton DeWeese in 15th. John Binder in 16th. Brian Strunk in 17th. Chris Hansen in 18th. Kyle Mullering in 19th, Greg Newsom in 20th, Bill Dolph in 21st, rounding out our field here tonight. So at this moment, drivers just patiently awaiting before the pace car makes its way around the track here for the very first time. 110 laps that we will be completing here before the night is all said and done. Last week, we were at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we saw Douglas Bell coming home for the win. Kenny Meadows in second and Jeffrey Meyer in third place. So Meyer going to have a little bit of a better chance to start. Even though last week he did start second place, he dropped down to third for the finish. Meyer here going to have an opportunity to lead the field this time around, and let's see how this action unfolds for these drivers as making our first lap around with the pace car in tow here. We will have a stage break at lap 40. So I'm very curious to see how this kind of first stint is going to go for these drivers. Michigan International, one of my favorite tracks to commentate for and see these races unfold on. It's a lot of different options that drivers have here on this racetrack, and it just poses some really great racing here for these drivers and frankly for all of us watching at home. So as we come down the back straightaway into turn 3, we'll come out of turn 4 and into the Geico restart zone, and we will be green flag here for the very first time here at Michigan International Speedway. There we see Meyer, the 50 machine, down on the inside. David Cintini, the outside in the 79 car. Colby Babber in the 10 machine, just behind him. Green flag drops here for the very first time. And already Colby Babber down to the inside, trying to get a run out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway, and already 3 wide for the lead here. A few drivers towards the mid-pack of the field taking that double wide approach as is to be expected here. But as the action starts to heat up here for the drivers in the lead right now, looks like Babber, Matt White going to go side by side here. Jeffrey Meyer, David Cintini, meanwhile, still duking it out side by side. Across the checkered line we go. Lap 2 of 110, and already off to some great action here for the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals. This has been some fantastic racing this season, and I'm looking forward to the action here tonight. Let's go back and take a look at some of the drivers throughout this field here and see just kind of where everyone is stacking themselves up here. Taking a little bit of a wider angle view as we come down the back straightaway. Lockdown with Robert Cook in the 64 Wrangler. machine just behind the 96 of Kenny Meadows, now behind the 76 of James Duke at this moment. Single file here for the most part here in the midsection at this time. Just taking a look and seeing where all of these drivers are going to put themselves in the early stage of this race. Again, lap 40, we will see the caution come out for a predetermined, or a stage break, if you will. So that'll give drivers an opportunity to come down to the pits and be able to get a fresh set of tires, fill up on fuel, do whatever it is that they feel like they need to do to get themselves prepared for the next half of the race here tonight. It's about lap 40. That's just 20 laps less than the halfway mark in MIS, I believe, if I recall correctly, 1.5 miles in length, if I'm not mistaken. Miles in length, excuse me, I had to reconfirm that for myself, but 2 miles in length here, so not exactly, I mean, it's definitely on the bigger side as far as ovals are concerned, but it is still a very fast one at that. I mean, drivers seeing about lap times of about 39 seconds in that margin, so really not spending a whole lot of time here per lap, so drivers definitely have to be on their A game here. There is definitely, again, a lot of options as far as racing lines that drivers can take here. I mean, look at this pack of drivers here for the lead. They're all over each other, and you could go basically almost about anywhere and still be fast here at MIS, so it's a very, very good track for battles, and I'm sure we'll continue to see more of that as the race progresses on. We take a step back here towards the mid-pack here. Once again, we are locked on here with Braxton DeWeese, the number 8 Glenn Productions machine, down to the inside of Scott Steffens, the 55 Area 51 car. Down the back straightaway we go. You also see Kenny Meadows in that 11th place spot, the 96 machine. Staying real tight in with this pack here, no one really getting too aggressive here. I mean, unless you look in the front of the field here, where drivers are really pushing each other, trying to get all the momentum that they possibly can here. Take a moment here to ride out the rear view of Jeffrey Meyer's 50 machine here as we come down the back straightaway. Great view of Matt White, Douglas Bell starting to peek out in that 3rd place spot down to the inside through turn 3. Both of these drivers have continued to duke it out lap after lap here thus far, but so far has shown a lot of just steady racing at this moment, and I think with this series, with this league, it has been nothing but. So I would expect to see this race continue to really just kind of keep this calm momentum for a while, keep things green, keep things going all the way until that first stage caution is to come out. And that's when you start to let off the burners and things really start to heat up. Obviously, some drivers going to still be working on positions, trying to really see if their opponents are going to make any mistakes here. As while MIS a very fast racetrack, you definitely got to be wary of, you know, when you're coming out of the turn, out of turn 2 here, you can see just how a little bit sideways these cars are wanting to get here. It's very easy to get that car just a little bit too sideways, and all of a sudden you're in trouble at that point in time. And it's all just throttle management, making sure that you're slowed down enough, because again, even though this track is very, very fast, you still have to let off a little bit. And to kind of exemplify that, let's actually ride on board here for a moment with Julio Villalobos. Let's give him a little bit of time with the cameras. The 45 machine currently sitting in 13th place here at this moment. Scott Steffens just ahead of him. That's actually Barry Stevens that we see ahead of him in the 78 machine here. Scott Steffens, I believe, going to be on his outside or behind him now at this point in time. But if you listen closely, you can hear the throttle of these drivers as they come into the turns. And I'll go ahead and stop talking for a minute, and you can kind of get an idea of what exactly I mean here. Let's ride on board for a lap with Julio Villalobos at Michigan International Speedway. Excellent driving here from the 45 driver of Julio Villalobos, and that really gives you an idea of what it's like to kind of try and stay fast here on a track like Michigan International Speedway. Some drivers, they'll opt to go way down to the bottom. They'll stick right onto that yellow line, and they'll, fast in, fast out. That's usually the nature of racing. But here at MIS, things are a little bit different. You can kind of stick into that middle, sort of to the outside line if you've got a little bit of help there, but for the most part, you're going to see most of these drivers, frankly, at this moment, most of them sticking kind of towards that middle-ish line. No one's really diving down way to that bottom yet, and I say yet because, frankly, you're only going to be utilizing that when you're trying to make those passes, and you can even see the leaders here not going all the way down to the bottom there, and you can even see a little bit of the track there where the rubber hasn't been laid down on the surface. So worst case scenario, you go down too far and all of a sudden you're meeting a colder part of the track, and it's not going to end well for you. You're going to end up losing all of that traction that you have to those tires. You're going to spin out, and it's not going to be pretty. But so far, 13 laps of green flag racing here at Michigan International Speedway. Things have looked calm and steady for the drivers thus far. No one has made any major mistakes or major boo-boos here, so far great racing that we're seeing thus far. Jeffrey Meyer still retaining this lead at this point in the race as well. So Meyer, the 50 machine, after taking home third place last week at Indianapolis, doing a fantastic job keeping the race going here today for the 50 car, and hopefully be able to see himself on this podium and maybe even with the win if things go according to plan tonight. Douglas Bell, the 11 car, he's going to be up 2 spots from where he started here tonight from that 4th place position. So great work here from Douglas Bell. He's been duking it out with David Cintini for quite some time actually, and able to so far now stay out on top of that, and now trying to reel in the 50 car Jeffrey Meyer, and, well, might even just be biding his time at this moment. David Cintini in that 3rd place spot, dropped down from 2nd, but is not out of the picture here at any means. David is still up here, duking it out in that 3rd place spot, just trying to click off laps here. He's currently right on the tail end of Douglas Bell here, so frankly, a lot of these drivers up here towards the front of the field, they're just going to be playing the game of patience, essentially, at this point. I mean, all of these drivers are extremely talented. It's going to be tough to make any sort of passes straight up because, again, you're going so fast around this track, you can't really rely on dive bombing it into a turn in order to make up passes. It's really not going to work out in your favor if you attempt to do that. Some drivers might be able to make it work, but probably not without getting into the side of someone, or maybe even getting themselves into a little bit of trouble. But the Braxton Deweese, the number 8 machine, down onto the inside of the 48 of Matt White. Kenny Meadows also sticking down to the bottom line here. The 96 machine holding on to 8th place at this moment. These drivers out here in this midfield, starting to see quite a bit of separation throughout this field, and that's kind of started, I mean, that's a little to be expected here not too terribly much though, as indicated by the track map on the bottom right-hand side of our screens. You can see maybe not as much as we would like to. Actually, we could actually head up to our blimp camera here at Michigan International and get a little bit of a wider view here of what's going on down here on the racetrack. Kenny Meadows, you can see him making a move down on the inside of Braxton DeWeese up into 7th place as we work our way into turn 1. So again, everyone calm, steady, and smooth so far in tonight's race. Lap 18 of 110, just about 20 laps left to go before we reach that first stage caution. So far, everything looking very calm for this for these drivers here today. And Douglas Bell starting to want to find some kind of room, some momentum down on the bottom lane here. Side by side with David Cintini. It's a battle for second place, but I don't think they're really worried about second place right now. They are trying to reel in the 50 of Jeffrey Meyer, and it looks to be for Jeffrey, this is working in his favor, building up a little bit more of a gap between himself and these two drivers behind him, but it's only marginal at this point. These two have consistently kept themselves within a quarter of a second of that 50 machine, so I don't know if Jeffrey is going to be able to just break away from this pack here, but we'll keep our eye on that as things progress on. Lap 20 of 110 as the leaders cross the checkered line. We're locked down here with Braxton DeWeese, Matt White, the 48 machine, just behind him. Single file here through most of this field, actually I think majority of this field. Oh boy, that's not what you want to see. Oh, the 48. Whoa, okay, that was a little strange. So the 48, Matt White, I don't know what that was. Obviously a little bit of connection issue or something along those lines, but definitely not what you want to see there. That is, as a driver, that's going to definitely make your knuckles turn white for sure. Douglas Bell, though, still trailing David Cintini at this moment, as David now worked his way back up into that second place spot, so we're back to the original two that we had up here in the top two spots, and Douglas Bell just trying to keep himself up here with this pack, and Colby Baber as well, fourth place driver. The 10 machine starting to reel in the top three at this moment. I don't think it'll be too long before that Toyota Supra is right on the bumper of that 11 machine. Could be here in the next couple of laps. We'll just have to wait and see how this develops for these drivers. You can even see Brent Wall back here, the 6th machine, starting to, again, get himself collected in this group of drivers. You can also see Billy Fitzgerald here, the 22 machine, just kind of looming behind these drivers and just waiting for his opportunity to get back up here, stack back up with this pack ahead of him. And that's a tough thing to do here on a track like MIS, where if you get caught out by yourself and you're not really able to bring down that gap between yourself and the driver ahead of you, it can be nearly impossible at times to, get that pace back. It's very, very tough. Back here towards the midfield, we've got quite the action brewing, though. 2 wide, 2 deep. Locked on with Robert Cook, the 64 Wrangler machine. Appears to be James Duke, the 76 car, currently sitting in 12th place at this moment. Now going to be leading this trail of drivers down the back straightaway, and it looks to be Robert Cook trying to get a move down onto the inside of the 55 of Scott Steffens. Through turns 3 and 64 and out onto the front straightaway. Lap 26 of 110 here. Everything looking calm and steady. For all 27 laps that we've seen, or 26 laps that we've seen here so far. Most of this field has really stayed extremely calm here throughout this race. And I mean, watching along with Scott Steffens here, the 55 machine, making him move down onto the inside of the 76 of James Duke through turn 1. Out of turn 2 and out onto the back straightaway. Oh, trouble for the 76. The 64 also gets a little bit of contact from that as well. I don't know if that was from James Duke. I don't believe it was, but for James, that is going to hurt tremendously. And I think for the 76, I don't know if he... suffered a little bit more damage than he would have liked, but getting into that wall there definitely did not help. Let's go ahead and take a look at the instant replay here in just a second. All right, so here we go through turns 1 and 2, out onto the back straightaway. There was that contact from the 55 of Scott Steffens. Let's back this up here. Let's take one more look at that. Just the slightest tap to the front end of the 76. And that was, oh man, look at him. The front end, the right front tire just almost all off the ground there. That is not what we want to see here. A little bit of a burnout here, I believe. Probably got a little bit too hot on the throttle there trying to get back up to speed. But that's going to bring out our first caution here of the night. Let's go ahead and get back to the live action as it unfolds now. So first caution of the race here today. Jeffrey Meyer still the leader here after leading every single lap so far here tonight. James Duke getting himself involved in a little bit of a scuffle coming out of turn 2, as well as Matt White in the 48 machine. Drivers now going to get themselves stacked up behind the pace car and get ready for the next green flag run here. But it'll be a short run as, again, in about 11 laps, we're going to see that stage caution come out, lap 40. And we'll be coming right back out with the yellow flag. And drivers will then be able to come down into the pits, get fuel, tires, whatever it is they need to do. But it looks like they're actually going to do that early here, as the whole field opting to come down into pit road. Jeffrey Meyer leading that field, so let's see how pit stops are going to go. 10 laps earlier than what was expected here tonight. Drivers also are allocated. I believe it is... I believe there is another set of tires behind the wall, 1 or 2 sets at least. But David Cintini, though, he is going to get ahead of the rest of the field here out of pit lane. The 79 machine now going to take the lead, actually. Douglas Bell pushing his way into second, and Jeffrey Meyer falling back into third place here. As we come back out onto the racetrack and get stacked back up with the pace car. So it appears the lights have gone off on the pace car, so next time around we'll be back to green flag. Here for the Motor City 210 for the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals. Also brought to you by Old School Ninjas. Big shout out, big thank you to both of our sponsors, both of the sponsors of the series, for being on for this event, for the series, and for having us on board to bring you these broadcasts. We go as we get ready to come out of turn 4. Pace car is into the Geico restart zone. The green flag will drop, and David Cintini not taking any time at all here, jumping away from this field and building up nearly a half a second gap between himself and second place Colby Baber, who's now on the outside of Douglas Bell as they come through turns 1 and 2 out onto the back straightaway. Drivers all scuffling around for positions. We got drivers going 3 wide in some spots of the track. We come through turns 3 and 4 out onto the front straight. Douglas Bell, Colby Baber, both just still duking it out here side by side. Let's take a moment here. I want to ride on board with Jeffrey Meyer. Currently sitting in that 4th place spot, now having to work his way back up to the front of the field here. just patient driving here from the 50 machine driver, Jeffrey Meyer. Absolutely incredible work. Back here towards the midfield, we've got quite the bit of action brewing here. Looking at Braxton DeWeese alongside the 84 driver of Kyle Mollering. Battle for the lead starting to brew. Douglas Bell able to retake the lead here from David Cintini. Jeffrey Meyer into that third place spot. We come out of turn 2, out onto the back straightaway. The action only continues to brew, but only 4 laps to go before we see that stage caution come out here once more. Cintini down to the inside of Douglas Bell through turn 3. Colby Baber right on the tail of Jeffrey Meyer as we come out of 4, out onto the front curve, the front straight. Cintini doing an incredible job holding on to this bottom lane, just trying to do all that he can to retain this lead. But as we come down the back straightaway, this is where the outside line can get a lot of speed built up, a lot of momentum. And here, Douglas Bell going to be able to shuffle his way just ahead of the 79 of David Cintini, taking back the lead here through turn 3. Baber onto the inside of the 50 of Jeffrey Meyer, able to push his way up into third place. We come across the checkered line, lap 38 of 110. Only 2 laps before we see that yellow flag fly here. The drivers will have an opportunity to rest themselves again for a couple laps and get back into the action here. Single file starting to see form here. We come down the back straightaway. I'm actually, well, not too terribly surprised. I mean, all of these drivers are going to be aware at this point that there's only a lap to go before that yellow flag is brought out. We go back behind the pace car here another time around, but the only thing that differs is that drivers will not have to come down into the pits for hopefully no reason at all. Whether it's for tires, whether it's for fuel, they should be good to go till the end. Well, not till the end of the race per se, but at least until their next stint, their next way down pit road, which I can't imagine would be probably until lap 60, lap 70, maybe a little bit more, a little less. Still single file here for the most part. Drivers going all the way down to the bottom of the racetrack here as well. We see Brent Wall, Kenny Meadows following suit there as well as we cross the line, and I believe the caution has just flown. It has. So the caution, the stage break here at lap 40. We're on lap 41 right now, so drivers going to get themselves stacked back up behind the pace car. Again, I don't think anyone's going to have to come down into the pits for any reason, but we might see a couple drivers saying, hey, you know what? The option's there. I'm going to take it. Okay, so this is not what I was expecting here. You know, I mean, I kind of had a feeling that maybe they might, but indeed, they are. They are going to come down into the pits here after really only about 10 laps since the last time they did. And looking at the last time these drivers were in pit road, they came in for both fuel and tires here, as we see one of the drivers' pit crew going to work on the 95 of Evan Longacre's machine. Good work from Douglas Bell in the 11 car, able to get out ahead of David Cintini, Jeffrey Meyer. They both fall back into second and third place respectively. Good times for most of the field, most drivers getting under 15 seconds for their pit times. So great work overall for these drivers. Lights are off on the pace car as we get ready to go back to green flag here as we come down the back straightaway out of turn 2. Douglas Bell, David Cintini both going to be in the front row here. Jeffrey Meyer, Colby Baber in the second row. Brent Wall, Billy Fitzgerald in our third row. Go out of turn 4. Pace car is in. Douglas Bell, David Cintini into the Geico restart zone, and the green flag drops. And a little bit of checkups here throughout the field. Oh man, look at the field getting bunched up here right in the midsection as we come into turn 1. Drivers stacked up nose to tail as we go through turn 1. The number 8 machine, Braxton DeWeese, way down onto the inside here. Through turn 1, out of turn 2, out onto the back straightaway, 3 wide here. Billy Fitzgerald, the 22 machine, stacked right square, smack dab in the center of the action. Kenny Meadows, he finally breaks away from it with the 96 car, pushing down the inside line, trying to track down Brent Wall in the number 6 car. Kenny Meadows doing a fantastic job, just staying right in the middle of all of that, but finally gets some breathing room here now as we come across the checkered line, heading back into turn 1, but the action still continuing on here, and he's going to push it back 3 wide here once more, trying to find some room. Out of turn 2, almost gets in trouble for the 22. Billy Fitzgerald doing a phenomenal job holding on to that one. Everyone going to be on fresh tires, so I can only imagine just how loose these cars can. Well, actually, I don't think they'll feel too loose at this moment. but everyone gunning for positions. And folks, that's kind of like I was mentioning earlier in the broadcast, that's when we'll start to see the Jets turn on for a lot of this field, is right after that stage break happens. Everyone is gunning for positions, and look at this Colby Baber, the 10 car, down onto the inside of the 11 of Douglas Bell, pushing his way into second place. You can see Jeffrey Meyer sticking down on the inside lane as well, trying to push his way back up into the top 3, let alone the lead. David Cintini, though, doing an incredible job keeping himself up here in that first place spot, but is going to have quite the handful ahead of him as a trail of drivers starting to develop just closely behind him. Back towards the midfield, looking with John Binder, the 33 machine. There's still side-by-side action happening here in this midsection. You've got the 84, Kyle Bullering, in that 13th place spot. He's going to be in the middle of a 3-wide sandwich. The 33, John Binder, down on the inside. And John, one of the only drivers here that looks to be taking that way, way deep inside line there. You could see him sticking right to the bottom, right on that yellow line. But through turns 3 and 4, he's going to change up his mojo, and it's going to be a different run for him this time around. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about MIS, folks, is just the options that you have here. Meyer continuing to try and move his way up through this field. He's cracked his way into third. Colby Baber starting to fall back just a little bit. Braxton DeWeese, the number 8 car, starting to challenge for that 4th place spot here as the leaders. Douglas Bell, David Cintini, both going side by side as they come into turn 1. Douglas Bell, the 11 car, able to take the lead here as we go through turns 1 and out of 2. Out onto the back straightaway. Cintini, Meyer now both going to be side by side here. Here's we'll ride out the rear view of Douglas Bell in the 11 machine. This will give us a really good view here of the action as we come out of turn 4 and across the checkered line. Jeffrey Meyer trying everything in his power here to get himself as close, well, to get himself around David Cintini ultimately, but still. This is going to be a tough place to make passes effectively. You just have to really be on your A game. And I think Meyer here is on track to at least pull off a podium at the very least. Lap 53 of 110 here, just about to the halfway mark in tonight's race. And so far, it's been incredible action that we've seen here so far, and frankly, as we're starting to see the drivers get back into this single file groove of things, I'm very curious to know if we're actually going to see anyone come back down through pit road at all and get another fresh set of tires. I'm starting to think that maybe not. Drivers might be able to stick it all the way until the end, but I'm only sitting here thinking to myself, that is quite a lot of laps to turn here on a 2-mile oval. Riding on board here for a moment with Brent Wall in the 6 car, currently holding on to 5th place. He's tracking behind Braxton DeWeese, who currently at this moment in the race has moved up the most through this field here, up 11 spots into this 4th place spot here tonight. So starting in 15th, up into the top 5. Great race here for Braxton DeWeese as Brent Wall's going to throw the challenge to the inside. He's able to make that pass and out onto the back straightaway. Now he's going to be tracking down Jeffrey Meyer, David Cintini, and Douglas Bell, who really just seemed like, from this perspective, it just seems like you could almost reach out and grab them, but it's going to take a little bit of work here for Brent Wall to track his way to the tail end of the 50 car or the 79, whichever comes first. We come down the front straight here. Now it looks like he's actually got good pace here to reel these guys in. Might be able to do so here before too long. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience. Lap 58 of 110 here, just past the halfway point in the race here today. And so far the racing has been incredible. Fantastic driving from everyone here today. And as we continue on with this race, again, looking at last week at Indianapolis, it was a lot of great racing that we saw there. Douglas Bell able to come home with that win at Indy. Maybe possibly be able to come home with another win here at MIS. With the way things are currently going for Douglas Bell, I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine him not being up there on the podium. Oh man, rough entry into turn 1 for Scott Steffens, riding the wall out of turn 2. That's and that's a good example of what can happen when you don't get these cars slowed down enough on a track like MIS, or your tires start to get burned out to the point where you're just not able to hold your line anymore. As it looks like Scott Steffens is going to opt to come down into pit road here. Last time he was in was, I believe, lap 42, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been earlier than that, but judging by the looks of things, that appears to be the last time that he was in. So laps, maybe it was a little bit earlier than that. He could have been in with James Duke, James Duke came in lap 28. I'm a little perplexed here, folks, if you can't tell by it. Continuing on with the action here and just kind of judging by what the rest of this field is doing at this moment. I think the next time that we see drivers come down through pit road, it would have to be maybe one last time, and I would expect that to be around, drivers came in lap 42, so let's say, I'm going to say about 75, lap 85, somewhere in that neighborhood would have to be my guess. Here as Brent Wall Jeffrey Meyer now going to be side by side here. The 6 machine finally catching up to the top 3 and now going to be pushing his way down onto the inside and trying to challenge Jeffrey Meyer for that 3rd place spot. And so far he's got it as far as timing and scoring is concerned here, but for Jeffrey Meyer, he is not going to give up without a fight. And Meyer here down the back straightaway, able to retake that lead. The 8 machine, Braxton DeWee, stacking up right behind Jeffrey Meyer here. You would be surprised how much a little bit of draft can help here on this track. So, I mean, as you have drivers kind of shuffling around, moving all over different parts of the track here, I mean, you can start to see different lines start to be faster than others just purely because of how many drivers are present in that line at that time. Single file lineups here throughout most of this field at this moment, and really that's not all that surprising here at this point in the race. Again, I'm kind of half expecting drivers to want to come down into the pits at least one more time before the end of the race here, and you can already see on the bottom right hand side of your screen there is a kind of 2 different packs that you could almost think of them as at this moment. You've got Douglas Bell with the lead pack at this moment, and then just behind them, you've got the 95 and Billy Fitzgerald, both kind of in their own little group at this moment, but behind them, we've got John Binder leading another string of drivers here at this moment. We're tied along with Kyle Bullering at this moment with the 45 down on his inside, Julio Villalobos. Lap 66 of 110 at this moment, and right now just keeping an eye on this field at this moment, just seeing what any drivers are going to do, and right now it's calm racing at this moment, and I think that's how it's going to be for a little while now. It'll be interesting to see if we do see any more drivers opt to come down through pit road. And it looks like I was incorrect about Scott Steffens as well. He did actually come in with the rest of the field on lap 42. Not too sure why he coming in just less than 20 laps later. But either way, he's going to be back out on track and continuing. Actually, no, he is not. He has decided that's going to be the end of his race here tonight. So, unfortunately for the 55 machine, that will be where he calls it for the night. Wall currently on the outside of Braxton DeWeese as the 8 machine makes a challenge through turn 3. Just a few more laps until we're in about that, well, my predicted next pit stop window, which was again about lap 75, lap 80, somewhere in that neighborhood, give or take 5 laps. across the line for lap 70 of 110 here for the 2022 Midwest Sim Racing Association Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals. Brent Wall, we're following along here for some time in the number 6 machine. Sitting in 5th place still at this moment, Douglas Bell, David Cintini, Jeffrey Meyer, all three of these drivers continuing their battle for the lead here. And I gotta say that the battle here for the lead is beginning to diminish between Douglas Bell and David Cintini, with about a second separating these two drivers here at this point as they come across the line. And not a whole much lot left here in the race itself. We're starting to see a little bit of a pack forming here for second and beyond. Otherwise, most of the drivers going to be following along single file for the rest of the race here, and I'm going to be curious to see kind of where this field is going to end up once things are all said and done, just how far apart or close together these drivers might be in terms of time. Meyer currently in the 50 machine, looking to get himself just a little bit further ahead here. Again, Jeffrey Meyer, after coming home with the podium last week, Douglas Bell also winning the race last week in Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Kenny Meadows in that second place spot. Both of these drivers really going to kind of have a repeat of what they saw at Indy, taking both first and third place respectively between Bell and Meyer. So consistency for these two seems to be the name of the game these past couple weeks. We take a look at the wide-angle view here between Kyle Mullering, Julio Villalobos here as well, just ahead of him in the 45 machine. Robert Cook just trailing along back there, the Wrangler 64 car. Down the back straightaway we go, heading into turn 3. Let's actually take a moment here. I want to ride on board here with Kyle Mullering just to see what it's like here, trailing along with Julio Villalobos. Staying right on the tail end of the 45, but going into turn 1, he's going to opt to take the outside lane. And it's actually going to play in his favor here in a round. Julio Villalobos, he goes and out onto the back straightaway, not without getting that car a little bit loose there coming out of turn 2. Very good work here from Kyle Mullering, keeping it together. We head into turn 3. As the leaders here are going to cross the checkered line, they're going to bring us lap 75 of 110. 5 laps to go before we are 30 left in the race. And so far, everything has been green and clean ever since the lap 40 stage caution that we saw earlier tonight. Julio Villalobos here, he's trying to make back what he just lost to Kyle Mullering here. Good run into turn 3, getting himself as close as he can to the 84. Going to try and build up some speed out of 4 and onto the front straightaway. Robert Cook, meanwhile, doing the same here as he's down on the inside of the 45. He's going to make a run here, move himself up into that 13th place spot. As we work our way through turn 1 here once more. Taking a look here at Braxton DeWeese, Barry Stevens, the 7th and 8th place drivers, working their way through turn 3. Stevens down on the inside, Braxton DeWeese, they're almost door to door as they go through turn 3 and out of turn 4 onto the front straightaway. Still side by side, a little bit of distance between the two though. couple drivers making their way down into pit lane. Brent Wall, Chris Hansen as well, the 6 and the 20 machine. Both going to come down here and get a fresh set of tires as well as some fuel. There goes the right side of Chris Hansen's car. Brent Wall's machine probably about to leave the pit stop, and there he goes. Out of pit road, the number 6 machine goes. Back out onto the racetrack, and here goes Evan Longacre, with a lockup across the commitment line. Hopefully does not catch a speeding penalty for that one, but that was very close. So, with pit stops coming into play here once again into the final stage of the race, here's a good view. Man, locking it up as he enters into his pit stall. Evan Longacre not going to have the best entry here this time around, but hopefully is not going to cost him too much time down there in the pits, and let's see if it does. And it doesn't, not too bad there for the 95 of Evan Longacre, despite the little bit of a lockup there going into his pit stall, as well as the little bit of smoke that we saw from the commitment line. Still a good pit stop for the 95 as he works his way back out onto the racetrack. Lap 79 of 110, it'll be 80 here once the drivers cross the checkered line. David Cintini starting to get real close to the 11 of Douglas Bell here as Jeffrey Meyer. He's working his way down into the pits now as well, the 60 machine. Gonna take not the 60, the 50 machine. Gonna take this opportunity to make his way through the pits here as well. You can see the black marks from the 95 of Evan Longacre's machine there, making his way through the pit stall. But what's more interesting here is getting to see when these two drivers up. Okay, speaking of which, Douglas Bell, there he goes, right on into pit lane. He goes with Colby Baber, Kenny Meadows, Braxton Deweese, you can see there as well. Oh, wow, looks like possibly Braxton Deweese maybe got a little too close there to Kenny Meadows, going on around to the outside there on the commitment line. Yeah, these guys setting themselves up, getting ready for the next run here, the final run here at Michigan International Speedway. David Cintini came in this time around. Barry Stevens as well coming through the pits. Here we see Kyle Mollering, John Binder also making their way through the pits. Julio Villalobos, the 45 machine, now going to take the lead here for the first time, I believe today, for the race here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. But Julio Villalobos is going to be one of the final drivers here. I do believe that is going to have to make his way down through pit lane in these less than now final 30 laps of the race here today. But once Julio Villalobos makes his way through pit road, the next driver up in the order of things, Brent Wall, has actually moved his way up into the running order here in, like I said, once he makes it past Julio Villalobos, once he decides to make it down into pit lane, it'll be Brent Wall, Jeffrey Meyer, and Colby Baber all in the top 3. Which next time around, once we cross the line, it'll be 25 laps left to go here at Michigan International Speedway. There goes the 45, Julio Villalobos into the pits. Colby Baber with a move down on the inside of Jeffrey Meyer, going to push his way up into 3rd place. Through turn 4, out onto the front straight across the checkered line. There we see on our screen 26 laps left to go here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. So right now with the 25 laps left to go here, 24 actually now as we cross the line. Julio Villalobos having made his way through the pits, and Colby Baber has actually worked his way up into 1st place now with Brent Wall 2nd, Jeffrey Meyer in 3rd, and the 10 machine is just absolutely flying at this point in time in the race, and already having worked his way up nearly over half a second of a gap now. Jeffrey Meyer starting to stack up behind the 6 of Brent Wall here. Very close here for the 50 machine as he works his way around. Well, I believe actually side by side. Nope, there he goes around the 6 of Brent Wall through turn 2 and out onto the back straightaway. 23 laps left to go. Jeffrey Meyer, he might be able to track down Colby Baber if he continues on the pace that he's on right now. And so far, looking at timing and scoring, he actually right on the teetering edge of being just a little bit slower right now than the 10 of Colby Baber, but not by much. Down the back straightaway, the pace evens between the 2 drivers in 1st and 2nd place. 22 laps left to go here. Looking along with Brent Wall, David Cintini, the 79 machine, trying to get his way back up here into the lead. Appears here that the 11 of Douglas Bell, after leading the race for quite some time, it appears that he has decided that's going to be the end of his race here tonight. Coming into the pits, lap 80, and calling it a night there. I'm not exactly 100% certain what for, but it appears that Douglas Bell is out of the race. 20 laps left to go. Kenny Meadows now trailing behind Brent Wall, as Brent Wall is starting to see quite a bit of drivers making their way around him. And whether it's because Brent Wall's just not exactly up for putting up a fight here at Michigan International, just trying to take things easy and click off green laps here. Just taking a look at things, that seems to be the case. Kenny Meadows just moving right on past Brent Wall here, and Brent just doing the sportsman thing and letting him pass, keeping the race going with 19 laps left here. Billy Fitzgerald right behind Barry Stevens at this moment. Another pair of drivers duking it out through turns 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway. Laps left to go. We're watching the action here between Jeffrey Meyer, David Cintini for that second place spot here at this time, and they're starting to run down the leader. Colby Baber here at this time, the 10 machine driver, currently holding on to that lead, but as these two stack up in a little bit of a draft here, they're starting to reel in Colby little by little here. With 17 laps left to go, it'll be 16 as we cross the line. Things are not looking all that promising here for Baber. David Cintini with the move down on the inside of the 50 machine. He's going to work his way up into second place. Meyer putting up a fight here, though, going back into turn 1. Clean racing between these two drivers, and that's going to allow Colby Baber to start to build up a little bit more of a gap between these guys, as now he's back up to nearly a second between them. Laps left to go as we cross the line here at Michigan International Speedway. A little bit of lap traffic getting involved here as well, as these drivers continue to click off green laps here. It's impressive to see. Pit strategies being a major key here in tonight's race, as really you get green flag runs like this in a race like this, you can't really depend on moving your way through the field. You can't depend on being in battles at every single point of the race. You have to rely on being in and out of pit road and making it effective every single time. And so far, Colby Baber seems to be the driver that has done just that. So we're looking along with Robert Cook here, the 64 driver, currently trailing down the 84 Kyle Mullering. Looking at Brent Wall here, he's got Braxton Louise hot on his heels with 11 laps left to go. Down the back straightaway we go. For the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals, this has been quite the race to witness. And for these drivers, I gotta say, I mean, only one caution that was not planned here tonight in the 110 laps that we completed here at Michigan International. So, frankly, it's been a phenomenal drive for every single one of these drivers. And with 10 laps left to go, I don't think there's going to be any sort of hiccups here into the end of the race. And hopefully for these drivers, that isn't the case here. Riding along here with Jeffrey Meyer in the final few laps of the race here with 8 to go. Jeffrey Meyer in that third place spot here tonight. And again, after last week's race at Indianapolis, coming home with a third place spot last week, coming home with another podium this week. For Jeffrey Meyer, this is going to be a good night, a good 2 weeks. 5 laps left to go here. Colby Baber, David Cintini, Jeffrey Meyer, Kenny Meadows, Brent Wall, all in the top 5 here. And things looking as steady as ever. And Kenny Meadows actually starting to track down Jeffrey Meyer for that 3rd place spot down the back straightaway. So Meadows here with only a few laps left to go. He might be looking to work his way up yet another position here. Cintini still trying to reel in Colby Baber in these final few laps. He's so close at this moment, and I mean, frankly, to try and get himself up to the bumper of Colby Baber, it essentially would take Colby to overshoot his brake zone and allow David to kind of catch up to him. Colby would have to slow down enough to be able to make that pass happen, but for Kenny Meadows here, the 96 Rolex machine, he is looking to come away with a podium here tonight as through turns 3 and 4, down on the inside of Jeffrey Meyer with 3 laps left to go. It'll be 2 as we cross the line here at Michigan International Speedway. The 96 looking to take home a podium here tonight, but Jeffrey Meyer not going to give up without a fight here. Crossing the line, it's the white flag here at Michigan International Speedway for the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals, also brought to you by Old School Ninjas. Baber has taken away the lead here and right now is not being challenged at all. Here as we come down the back straightaway, heading into turn 3. Smooth and steady is the name of the game, and across the checkered line here for Colby Baber, taking home the win here for the Motor City. 2:10, I believe it was. David Cintini coming home with 2nd place, Jeffrey Meyer in 3rd. Here are our post-race results. Colby Baber coming home with a win. David Cintini in 2nd. Jeffrey Meyer in 3rd. Kenny Meadows in 4th. Brent Wall in 5th. Braxton Deweese in 6th. Barry Stevens in 7th. Billy Fitzgerald in 8th. Evan Longacre in 9th. And John Binder to round out our top 10 here tonight. That is going to conclude our coverage of tonight's race. I want to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in and watching, and I will see you all next week. Thank you all for watching.
So we're going to start with our 3rd place finisher tonight, Jeffrey Meyer. Jeffrey, how are you doing? And tell me a little bit about your race tonight.
I'm doing good. Race was fun. Lots of competition. Guys were fast tonight.
How was your first stage there? What was your game plan for that? What did you kind of gather from those first 30 laps that we had green there before that yellow?
Well, I think I was looking pretty good for getting the stage win, and then the yellow come out and screw me again.
Would you say that your car was better or worse on the long run, or what kind of car did you have tonight?
It was pretty solid all around. I just was out front, clean air first run, and fought to keep it, and figured I could keep it till the end of the stage.
Do you think there's anything you could have done or any adjustments you could have made to move your finishing position up in there, or do you think third place towards the end there was about what it was going to be?
Nah, I tried a couple small adjustments, and it didn't really change much. Just got to manage your throttle and not burn your tires up, and that's pretty much what it was. The top, 3-4 guys were pretty even.
I gotcha. Well, as we wrap up your interview here, is there anyone you want to shout out or anyone that you want to thank?
Well, again, I'll thank myself for building another fast set that you can get at nitroracing.com. Otherwise, Rapid Fire Pizza, Old School Ninjas, you, Evan, and David for putting on the league. You guys do a good job. It was fun racing with Colby and David and Douglas tonight, and it was just good racing all around.
Well, that was our third place finisher tonight, Jeffrey Meyer, number 50 Chevrolet Camaro. So moving on here to our second place finisher, we got David Cintini, who came in second tonight. David, tell me a little bit about your race, and tell me a little bit about that first stage and kind of what your game plan was heading into tonight.
Yeah, no, we had a good car. Plan for the first stage was pretty much just go out, see what we had compared to everybody else, and not burn everything up too much, and see if we had to make any adjustments from there on out.
What did you kind of gather from that first stage? Or like, where did you think your car was, or what kind of car you had compared to some of the other competitors?
No, yeah, I would say the top handful of guys definitely had really similar cars. Very competitive. Didn't really have to make any adjustments there at the stage. We just kept it the way it was, and it worked if you just managed your rears and didn't burn them off. You had a pretty neutral car the whole run.
What did you think there at the end whenever, it looked like Doug had some problems coming out of the pits? What did that do for you with about 30 laps to go or so? What did that change your game plan, or what did that do?
I for sure knew there was going to be one less guy in the way there. When I came out, I think I cycled out like 6th or 7th. A couple guys pitted then because they had stayed out. And then Colby, I believe, was somewhere in the 2 seconds ahead of me range, and Jeffrey was right behind him. We ran them down, and then I think I had about 10 to go at Colby, but it evened out too much there, and I was a little faster, made a couple mistakes, getting a little loose, pushing it, but that's what you have to do there at the end to try to get it, but didn't quite have it.
I gotcha. Well, as we wrap up your interview, is there anyone that you'd like to shout out or thank?
No, for sure. Rapid Fire Pizza, Old School Ninjas, everybody there on the team that we're making these setups every week, helping each other out. It's really coming together. We're getting there. We might just be a tick here and there off, but I think we keep working, we'll get it. Everybody who's behind the scenes helping run the league, and for everybody coming out and having these enjoyable races every week.
Well, that was our second place finisher tonight, David Cintini, in the number 79 Chevrolet Camaro. So now we're going to move on to the top man on the step of the podium here. We got Colby Baber tonight. Colby, tell me a little bit about your race, how that first stage went, and kind of what your game plan was.
Yeah, first stage didn't go very well for me. Took it like 3 wide during the first lap, and then just fell off after that. I don't think I was prepared enough for how the car was going to drive in the draft behind somebody, so fell back to, I think, 6th or 7th pretty quick there on the first run. I think we got a few spots back before the stage break, but yeah, not feeling very confident after that first stage. Made a little bit of an adjustment, and I think that helped, but mainly I was just changing the way I was driving, having to adjust to being in the draft in the dirty air behind somebody.
You say you had to make some adjustments to your driving style. What did you have to do whenever you were in traffic versus whenever you had a clean air in front of you?
This track invites you to kind of go hard into the corners, kind of have to in turn 1 there, but I just started to use a little bit more brake on entry. Seemed to plant my front end and get me turned in right away, and I was able to use the right rear drive off it a lot more. And as long as you didn't get loose on exit and heat up your right rear, I mean, you were pretty fast and pretty even. Everybody's set up in the top, like 7 or 8 was pretty close. It just came down to who was going to make more mistakes or not. So fixing my driving, fixing my line after that first stage, I think helped me claw up to eventually get the pass for the win.
So it looks like right there at the end, you were right behind Doug whenever he had that issue coming out of the pits. What did you see from your perspective there, and kind of what did that do for you mentally, coming out of the pits?
Yeah, I think he pitted from first, so I was in I think I was in third, and yeah, my entry was a lot better. I gained a lot of time on him on pit entry, and we exited about the same time, and he just got on the gas a little bit too hard, just spun off to the right. Luckily didn't collect us or risk us at all, but that's just one of those mistakes that we're the beneficiary of. So that was pretty much the pass for the lead right there. Somehow came out a couple seconds ahead of David, but he did track us down. But like you said, once you have 10 or 15 laps on it, the tires just even out too much, and it's kind of hard to track somebody down and pass them at that point.
What were you thinking whenever you saw that, on your relative, that lead getting smaller and smaller whenever David got around Jeffrey? Did you think it was going to even out, or did you think he was going to keep coming along and get to you?
Yeah, right at the beginning of that run, I think it actually increased from like 1.7 to 2 seconds. I felt like I was in a pretty good spot. But then it just started ticking down every lap really quick. He was just a few hundredths, maybe 500ths faster every lap. And that's pretty typical. He's always running really fast lap time. So, it was just a matter of who's going to make the most mistakes, just sitting there waiting and trying not to get it too loose or hit the wall and exit. So I was definitely driving out of the mirror, just watching him the whole time, but luckily just kind of fell off and evened out too much at the end.
Well, congratulations on picking up another win this year. Is there anyone that you want to shout out tonight? It looks like you had a great run. Is there anyone that you want to thank or say thank you to for your good run tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank the sponsor, simracinggzone.com, for the awesome Toyota Supra tonight. It's a great car. And, of course, all the sponsors of the league, Rapid Fire Pizza, Old School Ninjas, Goon Squad for doing the broadcast. They always do a great job. And then thanks everybody at MSRA for running the league. It's a really fun time every Thursday night. Really glad that everybody seems to come out consistently this season. It's been fun running with these group of guys.
Well, that was our winner there, Colby Baber, the number 10 Toyota Supra, picking up another win this year. Got to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, and thank you to everyone for coming out and racing. Thanks to Rapid Fire Pizza for sponsoring the league. Thanks to Old School Ninja for being one of our sponsors here. Thank you to the Goon Squad for putting on our broadcast week in and week out. And we will see you guys next week.